The information station, KRMS, Osage Beach.
It's time for the Lakefront Living Realty radio show on News Talk KRMS. Lakefront Living Realty is Missouri's only real estate firm focused solely on lakefront and lake access properties, changing lives one lake house at a time. So let's talk the waterfront lifestyle. Please welcome owner-broker Annie Faulstich and her guests for today's program.
Welcome to the Lakefront Living Real Estate Show, your trusted guide to buying or selling property at Lake of the Ozarks, where every day is a lake day. I'm Annie Faulstich, owner-broker of Lakefront Living Realty, Missouri's only exclusive lakefront lake access brokerage, where we're changing lives one lake house at a time. Who is Lakefront Living Realty? What is niche marketing? And how does working with a lakefront specialist give me an advantage as a home seller? These are a few of the questions we will be answering during today's show. So welcome back. I hope everyone is off to a great start to the weekend. As I mentioned in the past, fall is one of my favorite times of the year here at Lake of the Ozarks. With so much to do on the weekend, family activities, and some of the best boating of the year do not write off the lake any longer after Labor Day. If you are shopping for the perfect lake home, now can be the best time. New properties are coming on the market daily, so email me directly if you would like to be notified immediately of new listings. You can reach me at Annie F, that's ANNIE, the initial F, at lakefrontliving.com, or of course anytime at lakefrontliving.com. Today, I could not be more excited to switch it up a bit. I have the pleasure of having Lakefront Living International's CEO, Scott Freerksen, on the line with us for today's show. Not the local expert we're used to having, but I can vouch that he is the lakefront expert. As always, if you're not able to catch the whole show today or missed any of our previous shows, you can listen anytime on our YouTube channel, Lakefront Living Realty, Missouri. If you are part of the crew following the show every week, thanks for coming back. This show truly is for you, the buyer, the seller, or the person that likes to stay involved in the lakefront real estate market at Lake of the Ozarks. Each week, I like to talk about topics that typically affect buyers and sellers, giving you, the listeners, answers to your most common questions. I will always continue to ask you to call my office or myself directly anytime with any further questions you may have on one of the shows, or if there is someone or a certain topic that you would like to hear us cover. It is important to me to be bringing you valuable information on buying and selling lakefront, lake access property, as well as knowledge on the current real estate market. I will continue to bring in area experts in many fields to cover an array of topics, issues, and questions. So please do not ever hesitate to reach out with any questions or comments. Again, you can reach me at my office, my cell, or lakefrontliving.com anytime. With our 2-year anniversary at Lake of the Ozarks fast approaching and still hearing the question, who is Lakefront Living Realty, I wanted to dedicate today's show to educate you on who we are and a little bit more about what we do and what makes us unique to today's real estate market. Scott Freerksen is joining us today from Mansfield, Massachusetts on Bungee Lake. Like all of us here at Lake of the Ozarks, Scott lives and sells the lakefront lifestyle and takes pride in getting his clients maximum value with minimal hassle. Since 2003, Scott has sold more lakefront homes than any other agent in the state. Scott, a.k.a. the Lake Guy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Annie.
Thanks for joining us. Let's give the listeners some background on yourself, if you don't mind, and then, of course, on Lakefront Living Realty.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I wish today I was sitting on a boat on Lake of the Ozarks, but right now I'm in 50-degree weather in New England, so take it for what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
But like you said, I've been in real estate since 2003, but really in 2009 is when Lakefront Living Realty was born. In fact, that was 10 years ago this month. So it was formed in Massachusetts, and then we quickly expanded the model to 3 New England states, which was Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. And then 4 or 5 years ago, when the model was really gelling well, we decided to take a nationwide approach. And really started talking through what it would take to expand in other states. And since then, we've worked through a franchise model that is formed in Ohio, Tennessee, and of course, then connected with you in the great state of Missouri. So it's a model that's different than anything else out there. It's I always think of it as kind of a Remax for lakefront property. So it's a full service real estate brokerage, but we're strictly focused on lakefront, and we're looking to expand every day.
Awesome. Well, that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, giving the listeners here a little bit more knowledge about the niche market. They hear those words, thrown around a lot, but I wanted to dive deeper into what exactly that means and giving them, some further insight on what it is that we do at Lakefront Living Realty. So, obviously at Lakefront Living Realty, we work with both buyers and sellers of lakefront and lake access property. But for today's show, we're going to focus on lakefront sellers. Scott will be covering a small portion of information regarding selling your lakefront home, but if any time you would like a free copy of our comprehensive Seller Success Guide, reach out to me directly. I would love to send you a copy. Again, you can call the office anytime, 573-693-1613. Email me directly, AnnieF@lakefrontliving.com, or always find us at lakefrontliving.com. So Scott, tell me, as a broker and a franchisor, tell us why you believe sellers benefit from working with a lakefront specialist.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think, I like to always compare the story to some other categories that specialize. So in one case, let's say it's doctors. So if I needed brain surgery for some reason, and some will say that I may need brain surgery for some reason, I would say that, some of the times, if I find out I need it, and then I say, okay, my general practitioner I've known for 20 years is a doctor, why don't I just go to him and ask him to perform my brain surgery? It just doesn't really make sense. They're not a specialist in that field. So the same thing can be said for real estate. When you're having brain surgery, you want somebody who lives, eats, and breathes brain surgery all day long. That's all they do. It's the most important thing on your body is your brain. So you want somebody that's a specialist, and that's all they do all day. So in real estate, the same can be said. We're working with sellers whose lakefront home is probably their most valuable asset. So, going to a generalist realtor, and not that there's anything wrong with what they do, it's just that they don't specialize in lakefront. And lakefront is a different animal. Every home for lakefront is unique. You need to know the ins and outs of the lake and the lifestyle to really get the maximum value for a seller. So that's how I kind of categorize a generalist versus a specialist. Specialists really understand the exact type of real estate that you're dealing with.
Perfect, because that's I was going to ask next to kind of explain that difference between the generalist and the specialist. Do you have any specific benefits then for the lakefront home seller or lake access home seller that they are going to get out of working with a lakefront specialist?
There is. There's any specialist that sells anything unique has a passion for that type of property. And in our case, all of our agents, franchisees have a tremendous passion for lakefront. In fact, they all live that lifestyle themselves. So they have really a tremendous knowledge of the lake itself, the neighborhoods. There's so many details of, you got to have to remember that buyers are buying, a lifestyle. They're not just buying a house. So any agent has to be able to describe that lifestyle and the details of the lake in tremendous detail because, that's what they're buying. Buyers know that they're spending an upcharge on that lakefront property. So, if somebody's a generalist and doesn't understand lakefront living, doesn't understand the value that comes with it or the details of the lake, then they're just not adding value to that sale. So, we took a lot different approach here in terms of our specialists. With our website, lakefrontliving.com, it attracts so many buyers that we've tried to solve a problem first for buyers so that when sellers are ready to sell, we have the buyers in place ready to buy. So it's a little opposite approach of what most generalists deal with.
Awesome. Well, that music cues just a short break. So we will take a short break and we'll be right back with Scott Freerksen, the CEO of Lakefront Living International. We're going to continue talking about Lakefront Living Realty, lakefront specialists, and how it is that we differ from any other real estate company here at Lake of the Ozarks, but not only that, nationwide. So stay tuned with us on the Lakefront Living Radio Show on News Talk KRMS. 1150 AM, 97.5 FM, and 103.3 FM. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Haley Glover, Realtor and Lakefront Specialist with Lakefront Living Realty at Lake of the Ozarks. Call or email me directly to put my love for the lakefront lifestyle to work for you. You can find me at lakefrontliving.com, call 913-638-7798, or email me directly at Haley, Haley, at lakefrontliving.com.
They're back. Thanks for listening to the Lakefront Living Realty radio show on News Talk KRMS. Here once again is owner, broker, realtor Annie Faulstich and her guests.
Welcome back to Lakefront Living Real Estate Show, your trusted guide to buying or selling property at Lake of the Ozarks, where every day is a lake day. Again, I'm Annie Faulstich, owner broker of Lakefront Living Realty, Missouri's only exclusive lakefront lake access brokerage. If you missed us just before the break, we have Scott Freerksen on the line today, CEO of Lakefront Living Realty International. He is with us on the line from Bungie Lake and out of Mansfield, Massachusetts today. So a little chillier than we are here at Lake of the Ozarks, enjoying the fall weather. If you miss, of course, any part of the show on today's show or any of the previous shows, remember that you can always listen at your leisure with our YouTube channel. That is Lakefront Living Realty Missouri, our YouTube channel. You can listen to any past shows at your leisure. We usually have local guests on talking about specific things to Lake of the Ozarks, but today I wanted to switch it up a little bit and give you, the listeners, just some further information in depth on Lakefront Living Realty, who we are, where we've come from, and really what it is that we are doing different in today's market. So before the break, Scott was talking to us about the difference between a generalist agent and a specialist agent. You hear me talk about that on the show a lot. I'm always recommending that you, the listeners, whether buyer or seller, are contacting a lakefront specialist. So you hear me talk about that a lot. So Scott did give us some great information on the difference between a generalist agent and a specialist agent. So thank you for that, Scott. And again, if you missed any, you'll want to go back and listen to that great information, even to just get started on some of those terms you hear me talking about a lot on the show. But in past shows, I've spoken briefly about Lakefront Living Realty's 5 golden rules when selling lakefront property. You can give, Scott, can you give the listeners a breakdown and a little more insight into our 5 golden rules?
Yeah, happy to. In fact, the Seller Success Guide that you mentioned earlier is geared directly towards lakefront sellers, and they can find more of this information in there. But I'll preface this by saying, one of the things I always talk about to lakefront sellers, the hardest thing for them to do as a lakefront seller is to think like a lakefront buyer. And, we try to instill that in them with every client we work with. And what I mean by that is, obviously selling lakefront property, or even anyone buying or selling lakefront property, it's a very emotional sale. It's an emotional connection that sellers have to their current home. And it's an emotional purchase that buyers are making. There isn't any buyer that we've ever worked with that didn't tell us some story about how they're connecting to lakefront property. It usually goes back to childhood, if they, vacationed with their grandparents on a lakefront home, or they vacationed with their parents, or they had, a lakefront home growing up that they spent a lot of time on. Those kind of memories get embedded into you, and it's kind of hard to get away from. So just about every one of them has that kind of story. And the reason I mention that is, selling lakefront homes can be very emotional. So the presentation and the marketing of that home needs to tap into that kind of emotion. And I think as a generalist realtor, sometimes they don't understand that kind of lifestyle and emotional connection that people have. But I think as specialists, we get that in a very deep way. So these 5 golden rules that you talked about are really geared towards helping sellers understand more of that connection.
We have, I know in several previous shows, I've told a lot of stories about that. That's funny. That's what I talk about a lot, and how we hear those stories. I hear those stories from, just like you said, probably every buyer and every seller of the property, of the memories that they've made with their family on that, at that lakefront property, or the buyers coming to us with that emotional connection, like you said, a lot of times from childhood or different things that they did at the lake, or stories that they had with their family. I've gone into many stories over the show of my own family and silly things that we do now as a family when we're either on the dock or on the boat on the lake that I did as a kid with my family on the boat. So I do talk about that a lot on the show, and I think that is very, very true.
Yeah, and I'm a lakefront homeowner myself, so I know if I ever went to sell, there's a lot of emotion that's attached to that sale, and it's easier said than done to remove yourself from that emotion. But the more you can do it, then the better off you'll be long term with that sale. So if you want, we can jump through some of these 5. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Take the listeners through our 5 golden rules.
Sure. So the 5, just for an overview: 1 is lifestyle, 2 is marketing, 3 is exposure, 4 is price, and 5 is specialist. So to kind of hit those a little bit one at a time, we talk a lot about lifestyle sales when it comes to selling lakefront, because again, we're not just selling a home. In fact, when we take buyers through a lakefront home, the first thing to do is they walk directly through the house and get to wherever the view of the lake is. And because that's the connection they want to have right away. They could care less how many bedrooms there are or what color paint is on the walls. What they want to know is, what's the lifestyle I'm going to have when I live here. So that type of marketing, lifestyle marketing, is incredibly important for any lakefront seller to highlight. And, I like to think we do that really well, not only in our descriptions of properties, which need to paint a picture for somebody who's out of state, but the photos, the videos, and even our representatives that are there selling the home really need to push that lifestyle.
One thing, and I've mentioned too, and may want to touch on today, on those 2 points, the first 2 golden rules, is also how we give information on the lakes themselves, which I have not found any other site nationwide that's doing that. Everybody can go online to a national search engine and search real estate for sale, and they can get information on the house itself, but they're not getting information on the lake, or that it's located, or the community that it's located. And I think that is something important to touch on that we are doing different.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I just had a call yesterday from a buyer that was looking in Texas, and they said, I can't find anyone or any information on the lakes that I want to be on. I can't find somebody who specializes it. I can't find details on the lakes themselves. And they called us and said, "Do you have anybody in that area?" And we have some referrals in that area, but it just goes to show that people are looking for that kind of specialist, and there's really there's nobody solving that problem other than LakefrontLiving.com. So you're right. It's a great point. You get all the details of the lake itself. Of course, in my area, we have thousands of lakes that had to be added because there was no information at all out there. So, we've added thousands of New England lakes on the site. But even in Missouri, having a specialist add their type of insider's knowledge of the lakes themselves really helps buyers, especially when they're from out of state. It's a great point.
What we've done here at Lake of the Ozarks, our lake is so much larger than the majority of lakes that we cover and lakes that are, nationwide. So we've been the first to actually break down our lake here at Lake of the Ozarks. Also, as far as on that real estate, more so for that information so that people can get information on different areas of the lake instead of even just going to a page on Lake of the Ozarks and getting general information across the board. We've really broken that down into different territories of the lake because they are so unique and special in their own way. So for anybody listening, if you go to lakefrontliving.com and you go to the Missouri page, we'll talk a little bit further about that. We not only have Lake of the Ozarks, but we have Table Rock, Bull Shoals, and Taneycomo. But if you go to Lake of the Ozarks, you're going to see Lake of the Ozarks broken down into several different areas and categories so you can get the information on those territories specifically when you're looking at property in those areas for what it is that you're trying to achieve in your lakefront lifestyle, what it is that you have in mind and envision for your family on the lake. It can look different in different areas of Lake of the Ozarks. So we have that broken down for you on the site already. So definitely check that out. We'll take another short break, but when we come back, I'm going to get a little bit further into those golden rules. I want to cover a couple of those a little bit closer, so stay with us at the Lakefront Living Radio Show, and we'll be back talking with Scott Freerksen, CEO of Lakefront Living Realty International. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Stacy O'Neill, Realtor and Lakefront Specialist with Lakefront Living Realty at Lake of the Ozarks. Call or email me directly to put my love for the lakefront lifestyle to work for you. Call 573-745-0946.
They're back. Thanks for listening to the Lakefront Living Realty radio show on News Talk KRMS. Here once again is owner, broker, realtor Annie Faulstich and her guests.
Welcome back to Lakefront Living Real Estate Show, your trusted guide to buying or selling property at Lake of the Ozarks, where every day is a lake day. Again, I'm Annie Faulstich, owner-broker of Lakefront Living Realty, Missouri's only exclusive lakefront lake access brokerage. Who is Lakefront Living Realty? What is niche marketing? And how does working with a lakefront specialist give me an advantage of a home seller? This is what we're covering on today's show. So we switched it up a little bit, and today is all about Lakefront Living Realty. We've had Scott Freerksen on the line with us from Mansfield, Massachusetts. He's on Bungie Lake today. Not quite as nice as we are here at Lake of the Ozarks, unfortunately for him. His boating days are not as extended as ours are here, because I always talk about fall being my favorite time to boat. The boat traffic is down and the sun is still shining. Actually, the lake's warm. Our kids have all been still swimming this week, and we're still boating. Sorry, Scott. But good for all of us.
All right, we'll switch to ice skating here soon.
Yeah, I know. Good for all of us here at Lake of the Ozarks. So we left off before the break. We were talking about Lakefront Living Realty's 5 golden rules. And Scott mentioned those for us. There is also a video that you can watch, again, on our YouTube channel to recap those 5 golden rules. I produced that video a couple months ago. So if you're wanting to get a little bit more information on those too, don't hesitate to visit our YouTube channel, Lakefront Living Realty, Missouri. But so golden rule number 2, marketing. I know we talk about marketing your story, both emotionally and visual, but combined with golden rule number 3, how do sellers really market to a national audience?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, one of the things I would say is that sometimes they go with, what I'm going to say, is an agent that just works locally. So it's an agent they've known for a long time. They work in the local area, but they're also focused very locally. So chances are, and in fact, what we found is about 91% of the time, the buyer for that lakefront home is not going to be a local buyer. They're going to be somebody who's either out of county, out of town, out of state, most likely. So with that fact, you really need to focus on an audience that's not from your area. And, really the best way to do that is, I guess, I don't want to knock anybody else's approach, but we've taken a whole different approach. What we've said was, you kind of have to think of the standard lifestyle of a home sale. So, you contract an agent, they type it into MLS, and they send it out. And most of their, and this is kind of a pet peeve of mine, but most of their marketing is really just saying that they put it on MLS. And I just don't believe that that's the way to go about it, because they really don't have the power to sell it themselves. So what we said was, hey, why don't we capture the entire lakefront buyer market first? And if we have them in our pocket, then anytime we get any listing from a lakefront seller, then we already have the buyers in place to do that. So now it becomes, okay, well, how do you capture all the lakefront buyers? Well, that's where the website came into play. So our website gets 100,000 lakefront visitors every month looking, these are people specifically looking for lakefront property across the country. And, that's led to thousands of registered buyers. So we communicate with those buyers constantly. And when we get our own listing, we already have a pool of buyers that are ready to buy. So, in terms of exposing this nationally, we have thousands of registered buyers that are from all over the country that see your listing. And of course, that's just one way we market it, but it's a very powerful way. Whereas you ask a generalist how many lakefront buyers they're currently working with, is probably either 0 or 1 or 2 if you're lucky. But we have thousands of them that are just waiting for that next property to come on the market, and that's really how we do a good job of exposing lakefront properties.
Yeah, I've seen it over and over now in my 2 years with Lakefront Living Realty, and that was one of the main reasons. There were many, but one of the main reasons also having a locally owned brokerage. I was lacking the ability to reach that national audience, which is so important. It doesn't matter really what lake you're on in the country. We have people coming from all over the country deciding to relocate to live on a lake, whether that's full-time for a vacation home or retirement now, especially. So finding that national audience was huge for me. And with us all sharing lakefrontliving.com, now over 1,600 lakes. I keep saying just under 1,600 now. We're over 1,600 lakes on the site. It really does bring buyers from all over the country to lakefrontliving.com. So,
well, they like the aspect that it's a one-stop shop, and I think it's important for buyers to know that when they go there, it's not just our listings, it's not just Lakefront Living Realty listings. It's every listing for sale on for example, on Lake of the Ozarks from the entire MLS. So from a buyer's perspective, they see everything. From a seller's perspective, our listings are featured on this site, which always run to the top of the listing. So sellers get their homes featured on that whole list in front of that kind of audience. It's very powerful.
Run through, give me those 5 golden rules one more time.
Sure. Lifestyle marketing, emotional and visual marketing, exposure, price, and specialists.
So golden rule number 4 is price. I've had an entire past show focused around this topic. We had a local appraiser on the show. But tell us, how important is it to get the price right on a lakefront home?
Well, I would think of it this way. There's a stat that I like, and it says 93% of all lake homes that don't sell in the first 2 or 3 weeks will never receive the initial list price. So think about that, 93%. So, I can't emphasize how critical it is to be priced correctly from the start. Certainly in my area, in New England, folks are a little bit different, I'll say. But in my area, a lot of sellers will say, well, I'll test the market out at a higher price, and then we can always lower it later, which, I always try to talk them out of that strategy, because what happens, especially here, is that buyers are more educated now than they've ever been. They have access to more information than they ever have before. So when they see a price that's overdone, they know it. And not only will they not care later on that you lower the price, but they'll essentially blackball it. They'll say, hey, we know you were trying to take advantage of us before, so sorry, but no thanks. So we see that so many times. I mean, really the strategy that we find works really well is to take advantage of the New England mindset here, and probably in the rest of the country, which is price it comparatively to your competition, and most likely just below the competition. Buyers need to see a value. If they see the value and they understand the value, they're more than willing to pay more than what you've listed it for, simply because they feel like they're getting a good deal already. So any of our sellers who have taken that approach and tried to just undervalue it a little bit have ended up getting a higher value for it in the long run than they would have starting high and going low.
Yeah, we've had the advantage of selling several properties this year right at or over list price. So it definitely has worked. Talk to me about, how do you suggest determining that right price?
Well, it's not easy because, one of the things we love about this business is every lakefront home is different and everyone is unique. And that makes our job so much fun. But the hard part about that is the valuation models can be very difficult. Certainly automated valuation models like the Zillow's estimate, that kind of thing, are very inaccurate for lakefront homes because they have a hard time taking the lake into consideration. And if you had 4 real estate agents out to your house, if one was a specialist, you'd probably get a good price or a good valuation. But the other 3, here's what tends to happen, at least from my experience. Some of them they've never worked with lakefront before, so they value it like it's a cul-de-sac home, and so they'll undervalue it. The other ones will be so excited they finally have a lakefront home to evaluate that they go way too high. So, if you get yourself in those situations, you're either leaving money on the table or you're going to be listing it, for a much longer period. So really, again, I come back to the specialist, type of player, whether it's us or somebody else. Try to find that lakefront specialist that really understands the lakefront market and that knows your particular spot on the lake, knows whether it's, it's a cove property or a full lake property, what side of the lake it's on. All those kind of factors play a huge role in valuing the lakefront.
Yeah, I heard somebody say earlier this week, I was at a training I thought was pretty good. They said, you, as a seller, lakefront property, you need to win the beauty contest and you need to win the price award. And I think that is so true as our buyers are becoming more and more savvy and searching those home values and, and everything else that they get to know on the web. You really need to win that price award, to be effective in the market. But let's take another quick, short break, and we'll be right back to talk further with Scott Freerksen, CEO of Lakefront Living Realty International. So stay tuned with us on Lakefront Living Radio Show on News Talk KRMS.
They're back. Thanks for listening to the Lakefront Living Realty Radio Show on News Talk KRMS. Here once again is owner, broker, realtor Annie Faulstich and her guests.
Welcome back to Lakefront Living Real Estate Show, your trusted guide to buying or selling property at Lake of the Ozarks, where every day is a lake day. Again, I'm Annie Faulstich, owner-broker of Lakefront Living Realty, Missouri's only exclusive lakefront lake access brokerage. If you left off just before the break, we are talking to Scott Freerksen today. Pleasure to have him on the line from Bungay Lake in Mansfield, Massachusetts. He is the CEO of Lakefront Living Realty International. So we've been going over a few of the topics and diving deeper into Lakefront Living Realty, who we are and how we differ from any other brokerage at Lake of the Ozarks. So Again, there are several important areas to discuss when selling your lakefront home. And in 2 weeks, we'll be covering the topic of preparing your home for sale, hearing from a staging company and a local photographer. But today, I want to leave out with also what I feel is one of the most important topics, and that is the power of niche marketing. Scott, talk to us about the power of niche marketing, really what niche marketing even means. People, again, hear that term. Tell us what that means and how it affects lakefront home sellers.
Sure. So from, a strict definition standpoint, niche marketing really means channeling all your marketing efforts towards one well-defined segment of the population. So in our case, of course, it's lakefront home buyers and sellers, but it could be anything, the people that sell oceanfront or golf course community, they try to get your particular listing in front of a certain population at any given time. And, it's interesting because, think of lakefront buyers. Of all the buyers out there, it probably represents, 1% of the entire population. So that means that, 99% of the population could care less about the lake home sale that you have going. But that 1% cares deeply, and they want to be able to find it quickly and efficiently. So, when we talk about niche marketing in terms of Lakefront Living Realty, it's all about connecting that buyer and seller, that 1% of the buyer base, with the particular seller that's selling the property. And, the best way we can do that is certainly through the website. So, with that many buyers coming in and featuring the home seller's sale, we can make that connection. In fact, in my world over here in New England, 80% of the time we sell our own listings to somebody who's already on our buyer list. So that buyer list has proven to be extremely beneficial. Now, to the buyer, they get a quicker sale, but the seller finds a buyer immediately for somebody who really wanted to be on that lake, and they can feel good about that. And, I don't know what you do in your market, but we even drop our commission here when we connect both the buyer and seller on our own. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think, the niche marketing thing has some other benefits that at the time we kind of thought this whole thing through, we didn't really realize. But, when you start becoming the go-to lakefront people, other people seek you out. So, for example, our connection with HGTV has been really big. So, having that many buyers and sellers at our disposal, so many of those HGTV shows that are on now, the Lakefront Bargain Hunt and Renovation, we're kind of their go-to people to find those kind of stories and put them together. So, there's been many times where we've been able to expose our lakefront sellers' properties to a national audience in a different way, and that could be through HGTV or national programs.
Yeah, I think that's huge. That niche marketing, and that's really what we encompass here at Lakefront Living Realty. So I've been excited today to get the listeners here locally at Lake of the Ozarks and, of course, outside of the state, people that have interest in Lake of the Ozarks, hearing more about Lakefront Living Realty and really what it is that we do and how we differ. But I can't emphasize those comprehensive seller success guides enough. People love them. We love them. If you want one, I would be so happy to send you one. So please don't hesitate to contact myself directly, and we'll get one sent out to you immediately. Scott, thank you for joining me today. I mean, trust me, as my boss, I know how busy you are overseeing now over 1,600 lakes nationwide. I mean, what I love about you and the company, though, is not only everyone's love for the lake life, but the laid-back approach combined with experience and strong work ethic to give our buyers and sellers the service they deserve, using really our knowledge and, of course, all of the wonderful tools that you have created. So I hope you and your family have a wonderful weekend, and I want to thank you again for joining us today.
Well, make no mistake, I'm glad you call me your boss, but I work for you. So I'm happy to help any way I can.
Well, if there are, I've not mentioned this before on the show, but if there are any other agents out there listening and looking for a new place to hold your hat, if you do live the lakefront lifestyle and you love selling lakefront property, if you're at Lake of the Ozarks or any lakes in Missouri, we currently have 2 positions left to fill as sales agents, both for buyers and sellers at Lake of the Ozarks. So please don't hesitate to hit me up. I also wanted to take a minute today to announce that Lakefront Living Realty Missouri is now also covering Table Rock, Taneycomo, and Bull Shoals Lake. So if you or anyone you know is interested or would like to know more about real estate on those lakes, please have them go to lakefrontliving.com, the Missouri page, and check out active real estate. As always, each week I bring you new and exciting listings from Lakefront Living Realty, again, Missouri's only exclusive lakefront lake access brokerage. This week, we have a custom-built home on the 55-mile marker. Full-time owners have unfortunately had to relocate back to Kansas City, leaving behind this well-built 4-bedroom, 3-bath home that is set up for full or part-time living. Located only a few steps from the water, this home with attached 2-car garage, master bedroom, and open lower-level floor plan gives you several extras. The bonus living space or sunroom, large screen deck off the kitchen and living, tons of outdoor entertaining space, and additional adjoining lakefront lot. With 210 feet of waterfront, you will keep the privacy, rarely found but always desired, or there is room to build a second home for friends or family. Located in a wide cove at the 55-mile marker, this property is perfect to enjoy any day of the year, with boating and lake activities an option even on the weekends. Yes, you can enjoy boating while out feeling like you don't have to have a large boat to get around in the traffic. Watch the family play in the water, ski, or ride jet skis from the comfort of your back deck or on your dock. Slightly off the beaten path on Ivy Bend, you are surrounded by very nice homes in the Mallard Bay 2 subdivision. You will not want to leave once you get here. So get away from the hustle and bustle, conveniently located 2.5 hours from Kansas City. But the best part is the price. This property with adjoining lakefront and coming turnkey, dock included, is listed at $264,500. I challenge you to find a home with more that offers more at this price. So always go to our Instagram, our YouTube, our Facebook, and lakefrontliving.com to see more pictures, videos, and home tours of all of our featured listings. Be sure to contact us directly because you could be our next week's featured listings. If you've ever wanted to talk directly to one of our lakefront specialists regarding buying or selling, contact us directly at lakefrontliving.com. We always talk about selling a lifestyle at Lakefront Living Realty, and we've talked about this a lot today. Our company truly believes this to be true. One thing we kind of peaked on and we talk about a little bit all the time, but if you're curious of your home value, as we're talking about sellers today, please do not look it up on Zillow to get your Zestimate. Go to lakefrontliving.com and use our patented Calculator tool. By answering a few questions on your property, it will give you an accurate market price range for your home. There you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter, the Lake House Scout, or read our blog, Lake House Lookout. Those are specific to Lake of the Ozarks. Weekly tips from myself are on our YouTube channel, Lakefront Living Realty Missouri. So stay with us because, again, each week I like to bring you local experts. We've got several shows coming up over the next few weeks. Next week we will have Shoreline Engineering here talking to us about controversial topics everybody wants to hear about, and that is FEMA flood maps. But really, there's a lot of questions out there, so I could not be more excited to have them in the studio next week talking to us, and they're going to give specifics for home buyers and sellers, what to look out for, what you can do, different steps you can take if in fact your property or the property that you're looking at shows up to be part of the floodplain. So be sure to tune in with us next week for Shoreline Engineering. My family and I live and work to boat and enjoy all that the Lake of the Ozarks has to offer Real estate truly is my passion, so every day is a lake day. Until next week, enjoy family, friends this weekend, and stay safe on the lake. We'll see you next week.
Tell a friend or neighbor to join you to listen in next week for the Lakefront Living Realty Radio Show. Visit their website for more information, including current listings and agent contacts. LakefrontLiving.com. That's LakefrontLiving.com. Or give the office a call at 833-LK-FRONT. That's 553-7668. And join them next Saturday right here after the news at 11 a.m. on News Talk KRMS.